everyone, and welcome back. We are here for the session 4, and as you all know, aware about what we are doing for this particular series, Think Like an Architect series, and whatever we have learned so far, I believe that is you are actually using in your project and you're learning. So let's begin for today. Okay, before that, I will quickly introduce myself. So, this side Virendra Khatke. I'm leader of Salesforce Architect Group Indore, speakers and mentor for the television community, and currently working as a technical architect at Why Innovations. These are my television and social profiles. If you follow me, uh, that's good. Thank you. Okay, let's again talk about this series and just recap whatever we have done so far. So for the session one, that is delivered by Anand, and where we were discussing who is Salesforce architect. That was the core session to just settle a background or foundation of this series. For the session two, we were learning all the business problem and solution blueprint from this year. For the third one was the core session for us, and I believe you have enjoyed from both the speakers. Where we were learning about the data security and integration piece from Himanshu and Neha. So this is also done. If you have not gone through all these three sessions or not joined at that time, please follow this channel, and there is a playlist. I will also share over the chat so you can keep follow those videos recording. Okay, and for the session 4, we are here for today, and we will talk about trade-off limits and multi-cloud thinking, which is going to be delivered by Navita. I will introduce her in the next slide or upcoming slide. For the session 5, which is going to be our next session, I just want to quickly explain about what we are going to do for this session. So this is going to be no slide session, means we are not going to explain something, but we are going to address something. Address means if you have any questions in your architect journey or in your practical projects implementation, what you can do, you can submit your questions. So our panel will be review those questions and provide answers to you. So this is going to be in two way. One way, either you are going to submit all your questions in advance. We will start those questions first, and in the next part of the session, we will ask you to come up and speak about your challenges. Okay. So this is something how we are going to plan for the session 5, and I would love to hear all the questions in advance. That is helpful, and keep continue for the session 5. So in the next slide, I will share the Q&A form link for the session 5. Please feel free to submit. The next session will be going to be on 21st, but we are looking to have all the questions before 18th of March this month. So that will be really appreciable if you are going to submit all your questions here. Thank you. And session 6, we are going to reveal more about later once we are done with all 5 sessions, because this is going to be in-person session, and we are going to plan something um, or venue something. So please keep continue engagement for the session 6. Okay, so this is all about for this series. Let's begin what we have for today, and whatever we have done, let's see. So what I was saying, for the session 5, this is our form. I will share the form over the chat as well. You can scan this QR code and try to submit your questions. Whatever questions you have, it is going to be related to BA, QA, or any design problem, implementation problem, technical, okay, coding related, admin related, whatever you feel you were stuck, or you are stuck, you are not able to get any answer from the television community or any other platforms, feel free to submit. Okay, either if you don't want to reveal your name, please submit your anonymous name. Not uh, not like any superman name, but just anonymous name if you don't want to reveal your name. Okay, so thank you. Next, throughout this journey, we were having many opportunity to get the certification vouchers. One of them is Community Impact Award, and we are having very good response from this campaign. And the campaign has been ended last month itself, 25th of February. We have extended the timeline, and we have winner for that. So I would like to announce that winner. today as well. Last Saturday we had event in the developer group. We have announced that, but something we need to see who is the winner for our all virtual audience. So who is the winner of Community Impact Award? This is Abhijit. So thank you, Abhijit. Thank you for all the contribution that you are doing for the trailblazer community Indore. And I will say a big round of applause for Abhijit. Thank you. Okay, so we are here for today, and this is something we are going to be talk about more in deep, where we will talk about trade-off, limits, and multi-cloud thinkings. This is more decision-making part because in earlier sessions we were discussing some core elements. Based upon those core elements, we will have to take some decisions. Decision means one of the examples, which tool we need to use, what kind of limitations we might face during the implementation. So this is something we'll talk about, and Navita will share something whatever she has learned so far during the this journey. So Navita is Salesforce CTA, and have connected I have connected with her during the Salesforce architect session, and that was in Pune. So in Pune, and there was some session going on, and well architect session, and she was presenting their learning. So that was a very great session. I enjoyed the session, and I had many learning. So I believe you will have the same kind of experience today as well. So, and she is currently associate director at Accenture. This is something we have for today. So, Navita, over to you.
Thanks, Surendra.
Yep.
I think I have lost the share screen access. Okay, but
Yes, yes.
okay,
You
it has restarted.
when I stopped, you will be able to see. So, can you please try now?
Is my screen visible?
Yes. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm Navita Sharma. I'm Salesforce Certified Technical Architect and part of Accenture India right now. So I lead technical architecture practice and Salesforce Certified Technical Architect. So thank you, Virendra, for this opportunity to present the session. And thank you everyone for joining this. So today our topic is Think Like Architect series. It's primarily about architect decision making. Okay. So before I deep dive, let me give you a quick map of what we are planning to cover into this session. We start with navigating the terms like architecture and architect because everyone have a different understanding what an architect is all about. Let's define this term and let's understand a little bit more that what architect role is in the overall enterprise picture. We will also learn about architectural thinking. It means that what is the meaning of trade-offs, what is the meaning of limits, and how an architect should handle the considerations part. Because every decision an architect takes, it has a cost associated, which can be pretty costly if it is not done carefully. Now, then we also deep dive into multi-cloud thinking. Now, when we work into any enterprise system, it is not just about Salesforce. Salesforce itself has been um, basically expanded into so many clouds. Everything it provides, starting from data analytics to integration to various CRM clouds, which were its core strength. Now, we also have some hyperscalers. We will talk about them into multi-cloud thinking and when to use what and what are the considerations about them. Then we talk about the architect decision framework. Here, this will be pretty interesting, where I'll give some examples, real life examples where how these decisions can change the project trajectory. Then we talk about 7 habits of effective architect. Primarily, it is seven which we have put in into some kind of a framework. But yes,
Sorry, something wrong.
yeah, something got wrong actually.
Share your screen again. Yeah,
So no worries. But can you still see my screen?
no, we will have to reshare.
Sorry.
You will have to reshare your screen, I believe. Can you please try? There is some technical issue. Yeah, please, I can see. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay. Then we look at the some of the key resources which I have sorted out, and then followed by a Q&A. So let's get started with a quick poll. Okay, so I know that we will ask this question to you, and you can respond over chat. So Virendra, maybe you can help that. So the question is, when we think in terms of architecture on real programs, what is your understanding about that architecture? Is it about picking a best product feature? Is it about creating complete solution set of diagrams? It is about making decisions under constraints and owning consequences, or it is writing about the most scalable code. So what do you think, according to you, an architect does, or an architecture stream should do in a real life program?
We are
So
having
can you,
yeah, we are having answers coming over the chat. You can see most of the answers. Most of the answer is C, or I can say almost.
yeah. So this is interesting question, because we said which statement best describes the architecture, right? And most of you have said C, which is correct. I'm glad that you have chosen this, because architecture is about, or architect's role is about making decisions under constraints and owning sequences. But that doesn't say that architect should not know about product best feature. They should not know about how to create diagrams, because that is a way of communication. And also they should know how to really make a system scalable. So effectively, I would say that while all of it really applies to an architecture in a program, but point C is very much closer to the best, which describes, because this is about having those decisions and constraints, decisions making under the constraint situation. So let us get on to the next slide, where we have, I have put just that how that overall architecture real job looks like. So if you see here on the left hand side, we have three things: the business strategy. This is about what is organization is trying to achieve, what is their roadmap, what is that high level business requirement. Sometimes it could be pretty high level, sometimes it could be you may just given a feature to be implemented. What is their growth path, any operational challenges they have. Also the user experience, who are the users will be using this application. Will it be the sales representatives going into the fields? Will it be service agents handling the cases on the platform, or it will be for admin building the automations? Now, again, it can be the external users as well, where they need to interact with the Salesforce, and this whole experience based on personas shapes your architecture and the solutions. So this is pretty important. Third point is about the platform capability. Now, when we are talking architecture, we are not just talking generic architecture, we are talking Salesforce architecture. So it is equally important that we understand the Salesforce platform capabilities, native features. We keep ourselves up to date onto the Salesforce new releases, new clouds, new features, which literally happens every 3 to 4 months. We get some betas, we get something GA. Knowing what is in GA, what is in beta, all of it is equally important. Now, once architect has all three inputs, then what they do is they design some architecture, some solution which has consistently these 4 or 5 parameters. One is that it is scalable. Scalability means that something you're designing today that is applicable for a certain amount of duration which is agreed. Security is the utmost important. In every solution, right? Because if secure solutions are not there, it is again aligning to the well architected framework, which Salesforce has launched sometimes is 3 years back approximately. And then maintainable solutions. So something you built, it should not keep giving you production defects, and fixing any defect is a nightmare. So all of it, an architect takes care that all the solution which is being built carry these characteristics. In addition, it has 4 responsibilities. For example, aligning with the stakeholders. Now, you design something, you are responsible person to go and present to your stakeholders. They could be business stakeholders, they could be IT stakeholders, they could be even your developers, or testers within your project, where you have to explain that why you have done this solution this way and what is that they are expected out of it. Managing trade-offs. Now this is key because there is no perfect solution. I remember when I was doing CTA, we used to have one scenario, and the scenario used to be given to four architects, and four architects had four different solutions, and all solutions used to work. Now, if every problem has a single solution, then all four, it will be required to come, to a single point of view. But that was not correct. All four used to have different solution, or maybe kind of 80% similar solution, but 20% variation. And everyone had their own reasoning, and all of them, were the solutions were approved. It's because every solution brings in some trade-off, some cost. As far as you understand what is that trade-off, that is very much important. Guide design decisions. Again, this is what about how you communicate. So it's not that you have created something and then after that you're out of the project, right? Now it is up to developer team to take that design, implement, but unless you are able to explain them that what do you expect out of this implementation, they will not be able to do, or they will do something which do not align with the overall architecture. So guiding design decisions to the different stakeholders is very much important. They can be higher, they can be client, they can be your own team itself. And preventing technical debt, right? So technical debt is not about just the coding review defects, right? So whatever code is generated by developers, you have some steady code analysis, code reviews. No, it's not just about that. It is about taking those decisions which are kind of workarounds now, and then tomorrow they can become a problem or the bottlenecks. So it is much more broader value. However, when we say the solution, definitely it should align with the business goals. It should deliver the value today. Also, it should protect the future. It means the value which is being delivered to business, it should not happen that for today it works and tomorrow we have to build something else. Business don't see ROI later on. So this is very important from the architect job. So if you see overall picture, right, it looks like the architect has a very key role, because if anything goes wrong at the architecture side, it may not give you the business value. People may not develop something which has been uh, uh, vision. They may not come up with a solution which is scalable, maintainable. So a lot of things really depends upon the how an architect thinks, right? So you can just imagine, someone is doing a building architecture and they have not done the right, they have not right placement of staircase, they have not done the right placement of things in the bathroom, and they have not. So all of it, if they have not done it right, the whole value of the building goes down, because there are things which are not appropriate there. The plumbing work is not good and all of it. So architect plays much bigger role. Architect thinking is much valued. Yeah, but it's not easy thing, right? So let me just go back to another view. We say architect, but uh, architect decisions are very hard. Okay, and this is a diagram which I have created using Napkin AI, and I really love this diagram. When I ask it to generate me this uh, the diagram on this why decisions are hard, I really like this bucket analogy. uh, so I would say that we want to keep this bucket full, ensuring that we have healthy project. We are giving the value, but there are holes into the buckets which are actually creating troubles, right? So let's go through these holes one by one, and that this is interesting, right? So many times we know, but putting them in the context or putting them in the framework really helps, because many times though we know, but unless we apply them, it's not impactful, right? So perhaps first thing is incomplete information, right? So I'm sure you would have seen many times you get some incomplete view from the business, with which that making decisions is very hard. Requirements are not clear, stakeholders are not aligned themselves, future integrations are still in working, but project has to move on. Decisions have to be made, because we can't wait the teams till then dependencies are clear, till then we have 100% visibility. So this is a reality check. This happens almost in every big project. So goal is not to wait for all the information. Important is to know what you don't know. If you don't know what is you don't know, that's a problem, right? So if you have understanding that what are the missing gaps, what is something you don't know, documenting in the right fashion, putting your right assumptions, giving your right risks to the stakeholders. If you're not doing it, then it's a challenge. If you're doing it all right, then with the limited information, also you can move on with your decisions. Uh, if you are making those informed decisions, keeping your stakeholders informed, then even if there is a rework coming in, it's okay, because everyone is aware, and it's not you who are creating that rework. It's that unknown thing which has you know directed into a rework, which is possibly okay, because enterprises go through those changes. Yeah. So next is the competing priorities. Now, uh, this is also pretty much business says I want this, IT says I don't want this, I don't have budget. Now business says I will, and there are sometimes compliance which says that no, I want this requirement to be prioritized over the business requirements. So there are competing priorities which comes up. So many times, architect have to clear the air, they have to talk to different stakeholders, understand, and then help them in defining their product roadmap. So that is also I have seen architects doing. Then rapid technology evaluation, and now this is a big thing. Okay, so we know that Salesforce itself comes up with newer releases every 4 months, and we know even for Agentforce Data Cloud, those releases are much faster. In our case, new clouds are coming up, like data cloud, which is evolving every day, from X use cases to Y use cases to Z use cases. Now there are some clouds which are sunsetting, right? So we know Heroku is something which they don't want to sponsor anymore. Now I heard something on the Quip on the same side. So they are also focusing onto their roadmap. But now again, for example, from CPQ to the revenue cloud, and similarly, right? So architecture technology evolutions will keep happening, and now we have a lot of focus on AI, which is many platforms are much emerging much stronger in AI, like uh, Anthropic and all that, and now people are building their models there now, how to integrate with Salesforce and all of it. So a lot of things are changing into technology landscape, and they keep changing. We don't have control on them. It's all for good. So important is you ensure that whatever is your best knowledge about the technology and the scalability, you take it, you design as per that. And if something comes up later, for example, agent force implementation comes up later, your application should be scalable towards it, and that's the whole point, right? uh, some of the decisions are one way doors. For example, you make the decision and it's very hard to come back. Some decisions are okay, you make a change and you can come back. For example, if you have a data model which requires, you have done something wrong in data model. For example, instead of storing some metadata in the form of row, you have created the columns. That itself kills the scalability, because you cannot keep creating column for every configuration. You want to possibly keep it in the rows. So if you have such designs in your project, for example, the case object, this is the most common problem I have seen. People start dumping because they have some 50 or 300 case types. For every case type, they create four more fields, four more fields, four more fields. And after the end, case object consumes all 500 or 800 fields depending upon the Salesforce edition. Now, no one thinks about the entity model. No one thinks about that how, case being a ticket, but all different entities are to be associated with the case, and we should not create everything in the case. Rather, we should think in terms of entity, right? So case could be related to maybe some product you are selling. Case could be related to maybe some customer you customer insurance policies, or customer and any data which you collect from the customer perspective, maybe the financial products you have sold to them. So if we keep those right entity model, my case object will never be blown up, and I will not have a scalability issue coming out of it. So those kind of doors are very difficult to come back, because that requires lot change in the project. It's equivalent to starting the project from scratch. Instead, if you have some decision where you said that I will write a trigger instead of a flow because of XYZ reason, and tomorrow the flow itself gets enhanced to bring in that feature, and you think now flows are more efficient, so now I should convert my trigger to flow. It's okay. I mean, that's not a problem at all, right? So that's a part of my keeping the org healthy, moving customization to configuration way as the the product evolves. So these are kind of features which are two-way door features, and we should be okay to handle such kind of stuff. Now, another is the contextual best practices. We have tons of best practices on internet by Salesforce, by people, but sometimes it happens that you are into a project, you have a different context, though largely the best practices work, but sometimes you may have to take some alternative path, which are may not be so best practice, but they are good and they are good for your context. So it is okay. Yeah. So considering all these parameters, it becomes, I mean, why I'm talking about all this, I'm feeling itself is hard. So I hope you are getting that, this is not an easy thing that you have become an architect. No, it's about making those decisions and thinking about so many things, and then taking that ownership and responsibility of something which you are, delivering. So this is another, I'll give few examples, practical examples over here. Again, this is about decision spectrum. Now, when architect decisions are happening, we have generally two types of stuff we get. We business always comes that I'm looking for high speed, right? Or I'm looking for maybe a quick 2 weeks design and implementation, maybe a small feature or small POC. And the other could be maybe, compliance requirement, which I have to deliver maybe in another 3 months or 6 months. Now, depending upon each kind of requirement get, architect may decide that something I can do quickly without thinking so much, and something I need more deliberation, I need more time, I need more approvals, I need more thinking in terms of more risk, because it can lead to financial implications, it can lead to legal implications, right? So it's always a kind of uh, a scale which is between the optimization, time optimization, speed optimization, and the precision, that how much precision you have to give in architecture. Not every time you have to do with 100% precision, it's not required really. Something which you think is irreversible and you think it's good enough, it's okay. Something which you think is not reversible, it will have a larger consequences in terms of scalability, performance, compliance. All of it requires little more precision, little more deep dive into the stuff. So if you see here, the left side points, which are over engineering solutions and all that. So this is again the challenges with an architect, right? So architect thinks that no, I will do perfect thing, I will follow all the best practices in this world to make uh, uh, something. But it is not just about over engineering, right? So there is a term called over engineering. There is something that you have a requirement, you are fulfilling it, considering all the factors. Sometimes you do over engineering, and as an architect, I feel that it looks so impressive, I have done so many things, and that essentially may turn out to be that I have longer delivery timelines, I have more costs, and my solutions and orgs are becoming very difficult to implement, right? For example, I can say, that in one Salesforce org, the number of customers are never be, it's a B2B organization, the number of customers are never going to be, more than 5,000 at a time. B2B 5,000 is a good number. Now you say that, no, I'm architect, I know how to build for millions of records. Let me put everything for millions of records. But now those millions of record is not even the reality, right? So something which is not even the reality, which you don't even see coming in the near future, you start bringing those complexities in the solution, then becomes over engineering, and then it rather helping, it starts creating troubles to the projects. Preferring automation over business value, and there are too many examples I have for that. I can talk about maybe one simplest example. The business came that I'm looking for this automation, I receive case from customer, and my agents have to go to the backend system, they have to fetch some data, and then that data needs to be sent back to customer. And I need automation for this because my engineers don't want to do this anymore, manual stuff. Now, a couple of discussions happened. Team prioritized this, automation, and when we got into discussion, we got to know that this type of ticket solving takes 4 hours by that human, and only they get 8 tickets in a year. So that means that only in 1 year they spend 32 hours of time if they do this activity manual. Now the question really comes, do I need to automate that, right? Maybe not. So we decided not to automate. We decided, we can convince business that to implement this, it much is this much is the cost, this much is the maintenance, and it is just 8 tickets you have got in the last year. If you are getting some 80 tickets in a month or maybe in a year, we will think about the automation. But till then you don't see that trigger. I do not see that as an opportunity for automation. So many times we jump on the automation looking at the requirement, but we don't understand that is it really giving that business value. I've seen a lot of examples where we build complex decision flows, complex, ticket transfers, automations. But when comes to business says, no, I don't want it. I want to do it because I have this B2B business case. I want that. I prefer the human relationships and all. So the point here is building automations. Yes, we want to do, but we don't want to do something which is more of an over engineering, which is more of not giving the business value, only increasing the cost. Because in that enterprise, for that application, you may have hundreds of more requirements which may be prioritized and giving more business value than just doing some, saving 32 hours of work in a year. Similarly, cost of building and maintaining app exchange packages. I understand many of the decisions are not just for the architects. It's about cumulative decisions. It's many times Salesforce gets involved. Many times they also keep selling their products and they say that now you use this, and or maybe they keep recommending some of the app exchange products also. Now again, weighing it out. So an architect's job is consider solution X, consider solution Y, give pros and cons in terms of cost, maintainability, scalability, usability, and then can give its point of view. And then along with all the stakeholder, it's a mutual decision which has been taken, right? It's not only one person decision which is taken. It's architect's point version is always giving those right trade-offs, telling about the reality, the assumptions, the risks. Now the overall call is taken collectively with business and tech folks. Similarly, not knowing the platform limits, and I have again an example for it. Again, so many examples for it. Maybe I'll call out 2 examples because I want you to go them and check in your projects also. Okay. So one of the example was some project went into production and they wanted to go live, but then they started the data migration activities, and then they realized Salesforce objects or Salesforce was on enterprise edition, and it was not having those right storage. Basically the storage amount was less to the amount of data they planned to migrate. Now because their license distribution was pro rata basis, I mean they did not bring in all the licenses, the calculation at the storage level was not done, and hence it went into another cycle of deciding on that what kind of data we need to bring on the platform, what should be away from the platform, how much storage is required, then negotiating with Salesforce to see how much storage we need to buy more, or they need to buy more, and then again paperwork, contract, and the whole production cycle delayed by a month because someone sitting on the project did not think that if I'm taking it to the production, what are different things I need to talk about, right? So another example I can give is about platform limits. Sorry, the platform cache. So how many of you know about platform cache? Let me just break the monologue and ask this question. Can you respond on the chat? How many of you know about platform cache? I'm waiting the response in the chat. Anyone?
Aditya, do you want to speak?
Yes.
You
Yes.
have you have worked on platform cache?
Uh, yeah, I know about it, but I never got a chance to work onto it.
Got it. Okay, I'll tell about the scenario. But anyone else who has used the platform cache in their project? No. Okay, but I can explain the limit. So platform cache is, kind of memory which Salesforce gives. You can have basically to store some quick things which you can reference in your application. So you can go and read about this. This is a pretty good feature. So you have an org level cache and the session level cache, which is for every user. Now in this scenario, what happened? They saw the limit that every user cache can be up to 500 KB, and they were very happy. They just built the whole solution. Now, they didn't realize that 500 KB is per user session, which never will cross. So they were all good with that. But then they realized that with the total cache capacity, which is 32, MB, they could only keep 60 users data if I'm considering 500 KB, but their data was not so huge, so it was around 10 to 20 KB. So let's assume 50 KB for the calculation perspective. So it could support only 600 users, concurrent users at one point in time. But what happened the moment they went to production? Within a one month, they got some 6,000 users, and during some time in a month where everyone had to pay bill or do something, they had concurrent users which actually crossed to more than 6,000, and people started facing the failures on the UI because this cache started evicting the user session. So how does it work? Cache, it works on a FIFO mode, right? So you have a user session, it keeps creating. The more and more user sessions keep coming, the first one keeps getting out. So based on the queue policy or FIFO policy, right? First in, first out. So the people who logged in before, they started facing issues, and no one had clue that why it is happening, and it really again, this particular example which I'm talking is more about not knowing the limit. So there are some corner limits or some feature which you are implementing. You may not remember everything, but some feature you are implementing, make an effort to go read about its feature set which Salesforce provides that point in time. Also the limits what Salesforce provides during uh, at that point in time for that particular feature, because those limits also keep enhancing. So I suggest that every time you go refresh, max time, if there is no change, you will be able to do it in 5 minutes, and if there is a change, you will improve your knowledge and that something has changed into that area. Or maybe if you can sync up with the releases, which not every time possible to go everything except something new features or some major changes. But yes, but whichever way works for you, important is that knowing those platform limits, the consequences can be much higher. Next is overloading Salesforce, right? So this is also very common. I've seen that people talking. We have bought all Salesforce licenses now. Salesforce should do everything, even it should become your ESB. Now, if I have to make an integration from Salesforce to some other system, why I need MuleSoft, right? Why I need any other ESB? Why don't you have Salesforce only doing that retries, cross-cutting concerns, error logging? First of all, that's not even their priority. Their priority is Salesforce making an API call to some system, getting result, and that's it. How to handle errors, how to ensure that if some problem happens, who will get notified, how we will fix that problem. So no one even thinks about the cross-cutting concerns. They just think about the functionality. But architect role is not just that, right? So architect role is much beyond that. So when I start, I always think, fine, you want this. Now I see late in the surrounding areas, right? What if it fails? What if this API takes more time? Do I really need it sync? Can I make it async? If I making it async, how should I ensure if something goes wrong at any point? How should I address Do I have an error logging framework? Do I have a notification framework? So again, saying all of it, not everything needs to be automated, but I need to have a mechanism to go back and find it out. It could be that, I have some operations guy, he just sees that, some error has come, or maybe by email I'm sending those emails, and someone is manually reviewing those errors and seeing that, something can be done. And if the count is huge, we may also want to either obviously fix, and then see that, what kind of automation we need. So doing the right thing may not require the whole automation, but not having a mechanism to find out that what can go wrong and what has gone wrong is a problem. So that is something needs to be addressed. Yeah. So I have a lot of examples actually, which I have seen here and there, in different scenario with my colleagues, with different projects, different clients, where they fail on the small stuff. They don't fail on big requirements, right? So the example which I told about platform cache, they have build a beautiful application which does complex to complex job, but they just left on one part. Because of that they faced issue in production. Yeah. So all of it is equally important. Showing you some limits. I didn't definitely don't want to go through each limit over here. That's not the intent. Intent is that at one point in time, you must read this end to end. Keep it with you, because things don't change drastically every 3 months. I have not seen even, I've seen only 5% or less than 5% changing in 2 years or 3 years. So it's that slow. But still it changed. But once you have read it end to end, you will have a very good understanding of where are the limits. If there are limits, what kind of limits they are, what are sync limits, what are async limits, what are integration limits, what are API limits, what do you mean by API request, platform limits, what does it mean, right? So whenever we are saying, we always go by platform event. Have we also considered that the more and more platform events I'm creating, how they are consuming my limit? Do I have the data calculation with me? Do I know that how many licenses I have in Salesforce, or which can support how many platform events, in a day or in a month? So we should have those calculation, because Salesforce is a multi-tenant platform and the governor limits are real. Okay, so we must know them. Not knowing them, you may say that my application is successful, I have deployed, but then one sudden day you will find that it is failing on production. Because there are some limits you did not know, you didn't think about it, and all, right? So while this content also, is a kind of summary. So I recommend that you at least go once, read one to one. It's not a very big document. You can finish, maybe in few days, and then after that you have that broader understanding. At least when you design, you will know. I know that some limit was there. Let me go back and check. But if you have not seen this, then there are no chances that you will go back and check, because you don't even know that it exists. Yeah. So let me just move. Another question which I would like to ask, and this I really want, fair from your experience. When you make an architecture decision, right? What do you see your biggest challenge, which you have seen till now, not just in theory? If you have seen anything, please do tell on the chat. It could be working with the platform constants and governance limit, where you had an issue about this, and if you had, please talk about that. Designing around other teams' limitations, proposing workarounds, because you have a challenge, and even the right solution, you had to make some compromises. Making the long-term decisions when the requirements were still unknown or moving, and or balancing the stakeholder needs. Someone said, no, I don't care. You give me in 2 days, and it doesn't matter how you design or develop, right? Do you want to give some examples also? I know you're talking about C, making long-term decisions when requirements. So this looks pretty common. Yeah. Yeah. Believe me, all of these are common. Huh? This is all of this we face. I have faced all of it in my interactions with clients and all. So I know this exists. Deepak, would you want to unmute and talk about what did you do? Overcoming the other team's limitations.
Let me allow him to speak.
Okay. If you're comfortable, please.
Deepak, can you please try if you're able to speak?
Sorry, ma'am, by mistake I press B. Like my decision is C.
Okay. uh,
Yes, sir.
sure. Anything you want to talk? You have an example which you want to talk?
Um, I'm do not have any much idea about like Salesforce. Like I'm just 4 or 5 months experience about.
Okay, got it. No
Yes,
worries.
ma'am.
No worries. No worries.
Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. So I think what I'm getting that most people you face that the requirements are not clear where you are still expected to deliver. I think in that case, having your right assumptions is important. And if something you do not knowing the risks of what you are building is another challenge which you must address. Yeah. So I'll move to next section, which is about multi-cloud. Now, when we talk about multi-cloud, it means two things. One is that clouds, what we have in Salesforce, like different cloud, sales, service, marketing, and more clouds, right? Um, Experience cloud and so on. And if we talk, and also it can be the hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, GCP. The important part of multi-cloud is that we are thinking not in terms of clouds, rather we are thinking in terms of delivering the unified business capabilities, right? So let me just take one example. When we are talking in terms of multiple cloud, how does this whole picture looks like? So we start with the customer channels. The customer channels would be the web, mobile, social. We have Sprinkler now, email, or maybe via call center where they call via phone. Now this is your customer, which showing up however they whichever channel they can come to their platform. Now after they come to the platform, they need an interaction channel, right? So for example, if it is via portal, right? So for example, portal experience layer is another thing. So if customers are reaching out to you irrespective of any channels, you would have to communicate back to them. Either it could be mail, which is an offline thing, or you give them some kind of a portal, which could be a public portal or an experience layer, experience cloud site on the Salesforce, which allows them or helps them to navigate some of the journey, to make them some of the their queries, to get data about themselves. So that is another layer. Now this layer can be on Salesforce and can be outside Salesforce. And then we have different sales cloud, which does the job, for example, sales, service, or marketing cloud for that matter. Then we have integration layer, because in any enterprise system we don't we are not just done with the sales service cloud, because they are more of a customer experience cloud. And then we have an integration layer which ensure that customer experience at the customer side gets integrated with different enterprise system, which could be their identity management system, master data management system, or system of records, um, for um, um, for ERP, for inventory, for policy management system, product master. So there could be many systems, and sometimes they are having a cloud version, or they are having some hyperscalers also in the landscape, where they would want to integrate with Salesforce. So in that case, we have that integration layer, and then enterprise systems or clouds which talk to integration layer to talk to Salesforce. So this is how your multi-cloud architecture works, along with the Salesforce as well as outside Salesforce, where we are talking native clouds and external periphery clouds. So again, 3-4 scenarios I would want to talk about it. This is again based on the experience that I have. For example, sending bulk emails to customers. This is again a common scenario. Customers don't have marketing cloud. They say that I want to send emails from Salesforce to to external users. Now those external users or external customers which are in the Salesforce, unless and until they are users of Salesforce, sending them email is a daily limit in Salesforce. You cannot send more than 5,000 emails per day to external contacts. So if you don't know that limit, you possibly may build that solution on the Salesforce itself. But if you know that this limit exists and these kind of use cases are better fit on the marketing cloud, then you will say that now we will have to introduce a marketing cloud over here, and which will help in having those segment, considering the consents and everything which you capture from the user consent perspective. And also it can capture that if the emails are delivered, they are bounced, or there are some delivery optimization, recurrence, all of it can be handled on the marketing cloud because it is built for that purpose. So it is very important to know about some cloud which is built for the purpose and we are using that cloud for that purpose only. So so knowing that what are the Salesforce limitation and where to get into the marketing cloud, especially on the sending email, is one of the common challenge which I have seen. Next is the processing of IoT events. So this is about, these are many scenarios which are, for example, from the auto cloud perspective as well, where there are some kind of devices which generate, events. For example, if you have electric vehicle chargers, and they are deployed across the network, and some of the chargers are not working. Now they can ping themselves that I have some problem. This is my error code. Now those kind of IoT messages, and similarly, the car, if there is some challenges, it also has some IoT devices which can communicate to the server. Now there are I have got into those discussions where we say that let's put all the IoT messages in Salesforce, and Salesforce filters them out. What is the right error? What is the right issue? And then accordingly, it handles, service rep handles. Now the question is, those events are emitting the events so fast, say every 30 seconds. Bringing them onto directly Salesforce is definitely no. It's not recommended at all because many reasons, right? So first of all, Salesforce is not a transactional system for IoT. So there has to be some system in between. It could be data cloud for that matter, or it could be any AWS platform, which is the listener for those events. Then it filters based on some logic, because not necessarily every event which is getting generated by the IoT devices is an error, right? It could be just that information. So filtering those events, considering that what is the critical case, what is the medium priority case, what is the low priority case, all of it can come and sit into the Salesforce system. Now, always, whenever the processing IoT events, always remember that Salesforce is never, first cloud to get interacted. It should pass via a layer which do not fear from the increase in data volume, and you don't have to do cleanup and all that and kill the Salesforce platform for something which it is not meant for. Then we have customer experience via Experience Cloud. So this is again a very common example. If we design Experience Cloud site into Salesforce, we must know that it comes with a lot of limits. It is giving page views, limited page views in a year. And then if you are building some kind of a portal which is a public portal and you have no idea, no control that how people are going to reach out that, then Experience Cloud is not the right fit for it. Maybe some other website or public website technology like Adobe Experience Manager or some other technology which can support public site and custom domain hosting, that should do it, and that should again forward to the Experience Cloud site for specific use cases to be implemented. Similarly, headless architecture, this is again a pretty common thing going on where we say that we will build a UI in React Native or some other technology, host it on some public site, and then Salesforce will be more of connection. So these are the examples where Salesforce itself is not sufficient. It has to communicate either with the different clouds within the Salesforce ecosystem or with the clouds in the periphery or the hyperscalers or the enterprise clouds which may exist in any enterprise system. So moving on, key trade-offs is in multi-cloud and in enterprise view. So this is about when we choose multiple clouds, important thing to know is the best of breed, right? So we should know what each cloud is meant for. That is very key. Now, if we have chosen the right tool based on the right capability, we should also know the more and more cloud we are introducing, it may get into a lot of operational complexities, right? So those operational complexities are the trade-off. You need those skill of people, you need those two teams whenever you're delivering something. So it's not always easy to support multiple clouds. But again, we should always do the best thing which is possible for the enterprise. And many times, frankly, it's not even an architect alone discussion or decision. It is towards leaning towards an enterprise architecture where you can contribute with your point of view, but more of the decisions which are outside Salesforce are taken care by the enterprise architects. Similarly, the resilience and redundancy. Now, this is important because when we are ensuring different clouds, we don't have vendor lock-in, which is also one of the client concerns. And yes, it has a trade-off that cost we talked about. Again, we say that data is important because many times proximity helps. Because if you're running some analytics tool and the data is within that system, that those analytics runs faster, right? But many times we end up duplicating too much of data across different systems. The problem happens when we do not have clarity which data which system is the master. So that master data is an issue if that knowledge is not available with us. Again, deep specialization we talked about. One of the key thing which is important is the integration latency, right? So we have multiple clouds. Now every cloud or every tool, they may have some recommended way of integration. For example, uh, with Amazon Salesforce have event relay kind of feature which is out of box. You just configure it and you don't need any middleware. Salesforce directly starts emitting the events to AWS, and which is one of the core standard pattern. Now, so this kind of integration, and then what is the best mechanism to integrate that particular cloud is very much important. Now, you as an Salesforce architect, I won't say that you should have the whole knowledge of the other cloud and everything, but at least at high level, you must know that what is the key role of that cloud if it is in the enterprise landscape, and how you can leverage it for the benefit of the whole application when this whole things comes up. Yeah. So again, best practices and anti-patterns. I'll just call that out. Most of it we have already discussed, but let me just. So we have API first. Yes, we want everything API first, and Salesforce by nature is API first. So if you know Sales, for every object you create on Salesforce, it provides by default SOAP APIs, REST APIs, right? Without writing a single line of code, you can extract the data from Salesforce. You even have composite APIs via which you can ask any other system to query or to update the data onto the Salesforce. So Salesforce itself is an API first, and anything what you are building should be API first. Now, definitely synchronous is something we must avoid because synchronous requires cloud to cloud hopping and then providing that response, which may be delayed, and if it is on the user experience, it may also be a problem of that delay. So figuring it out that when it should be synchronous versus asynchronous is the key. Again, the best practice is, let's not unnecessarily duplicate the data, because if you duplicate the data, you have to keep the data in sync. Otherwise, one system will have some other set of data, other system will have different data, and that will be an integrity issue. So ensuring that data you fetch in the real time or leverage Salesforce Connect or external object is important. Then I think I talked about the error handling and all, at some point. So this is important because every time we should know that if some failure happens onto one entry point or one exit point of a cloud, how it will be handled in terms of error. So we all know sales, service, experience all sits in the same platform, so that's not a problem because we are not really doing an integration over there. But if we are talking about some third-party client or an enterprise system, we have to think about all those error handlings as well. Yeah, so this is about best practices and different entry patterns we have. Let me just move to next. Now, this is our architecture decision framework. So let me just talk about this. This is kind of a framework which is simple. We have already spoken about most of the points, but when an architect starts deciding, what are the stage by stage or step by step things what he can do. For example, frame the decision, right? It looks obvious, but many times it is skipped. People don't know, what exactly they are deciding. How they need to build that feature, what is that business driver, business critical requirement, and that why they are framing that decision. So that should be important. Identifying constraints. Now, till now we have understood identifying constraints is not a problem, and that's the fact. Constraint is not a problem. It is rather architects playground or working area, that you within that constraint you have to build something, right? So ensure that whenever you are making a decision, call out all the constraints before you say that this is what is I want to do, because everything you choose X, Y, Z, everything will have pros and cons. There will hardly you will find any solution which will only say that all these 4 points are valid points. So don't consider them as obstacles, rather consider them as part of a good architecture, because that is a thought through architecture. And then we talk about trade-offs, right? So trade-off is again three parameters generally we evaluate a trade-off: that cost, how much cost, against the business value, the complexity, and the maintainability. So once we have defined this trade-off, then we either, if it is something which is more of a new thing which has never been done and we want to propose it as a prototype, let's propose it as a prototype. Otherwise, if you think that's kind of 100% done, you have done it 10 places, then not a problem at all. Then document it as an architect decision reference. So we will talk about this template. And after that, you set review triggers. Review triggers are primarily that when to come back on that decision again. Yeah. So let me just go through a architecture decision example, and we will see one of these points covering up again. So we start with the decision title, which is a short description that what it should be all about. It should be enough for someone to understand, and so for example, we should not say that integration approach. No, that's not the right form, right? We should talk about the claim processing platform selection, or we should talk about lead assignment logic, or we should talk about customer data sync, from X to Y. So it should be very descriptive, which tells that what this document is all about. Then giving a context. Context is about a business problem, any constraint you have, the decision drivers you have, all of it should come over there. Then options selected. So in this, as an architect, One of the thing which I have seen is you don't go with one option. You always have multiple options, and with those options, you always have pros and cons. And then considering the pros and cons, one option can be preferred over other, and that is what this section should cover. And definitely why part is that why the decision is covered. Now decision is simple, which will be one of the option which you have put in the previous attribute, saying that why this decision has been taken, and then trade-off accepted. Now with every decision there would be some trade-off. Could be that this decision will increase the timeline by X, will have this additional cost, will have this additional technology, will have this additional third-party dependency. So whatever it is, mentioning that is we know that this problem exists, this problem brings in this assumption, this risk, and we accept it. Yeah. And then towards the end we talk about two things: consequences and the review trigger. Consequences is basically if there is any downstream impact, on any other stuff that we need to capture here. Review trigger is something which can be that when this decision should be reviewed. So something which you have done today, it will be based on some constraints, and you may have situation that today you designed this system for 10,000 customers, but if your customers which you don't see getting increased in another 5 years, but if it gets increases to beyond 10,000, then you should come back on this decision to see what improvements are required there. So this is architecture decision record template. I also do it today. So anytime I make some decisions, I keep in the same format. I give it to my stakeholders and I keep it in my documentation, so that because I cannot remember everything what I did, for every small or big decision, but I have done 6 months before. So I always go back, see that this is what is done. This is even it has some other attributes like who are the stakeholders this is discussed with, who approved it, who has accepted this risk. So all of it we can capture in ADR and we keep it as a part of the project. This is helpful because we know that teams also keep changing. Today I'm the one in the project, tomorrow someone else comes in the project. Now they also need to know that why the decision was made. Now having such kind of a documentation is helpful because they can always go back and figure out that why the decision was made. So so with this, I think it's not about making a documentation. I believe this is very important documentation from the architect perspective, and that is the main documentation which every architect should do on the project. So with this, I'll put another poll on this chat. So anyone has point of view that which architecture anti-pattern have you encountered most often? Point-to-point security as an afterthought, Salesforce governor limits, designing for today's requirement, and scalability challenges.
Yeah, we are having responses. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think one of the two responses I see,
mostly C
and
and
one of the common is Salesforce governor limit failure in production. I mean, I have seen a lot actually. So it is a real challenge. Salesforce governor limit failures in production happens a lot because no one thinks about them before. Good, but I have seen all of it actually. Uh, Security as an afterthought is very common. People don't think about security at all. They just build with the admin access, everything. No one talks about permission set, which access, sharing rules, how the record sharing should work. No one talks about that. And point-to-point integration, I have also seen that is also, we build saying that, why we need a middleware. I have to just call that system, get that data, and I'm done. But the point is, we don't worry about the cross-cutting concerns, the auditability, the traceability, the error handling, all of it. If you don't, do it by middleware, the whole governance part misses out, which is good. So these are, I think there is no right or wrong answer. It is based on the experience what you have seen in your project. So I'm moving towards the end of my presentation, which is about 7 habits of an architect. Now, this is, I mean, I have covered almost all of them. Maybe we'll just reiterate for the closure perspective. So, first habit is think in the business outcome. So, technical solutions we all give without thinking that technology exists. Yes, I can make this, but we never ask why we need to do this, why this brings business value, what is that business value it is bringing, how we can monitor that business value. So if we can think in that language, we can actually help business and a project and a client. So every architecture decision we should think in terms of a not necessarily KPI. KPI if we can think good, but the value, right? Is it saving any money to them? Is it helping, and reducing any risk? Is it saving them from any financial liabilities? Is customer experience getting improved? Are you going to get new business? So what is that you're going to get after you implement this requirement or this feature or this whole application or a project, right? So knowing that is very important. Without this, someone will tell you, I have seen even businesses come back and say, add these two attributes into this object, account object, for example. Now, when we see those attributes, they are more of a transactional data, and we have to understand why transactional data they want to add in account, because account is a master. I don't want to add transactional data into master. So business sometimes they don't know, and they also think that we are technical people and we can even translate the requirement in business in the technical terms. So there, sometimes we say that fine, business has asked, let's create 2 fields without even questioning why. So that is very important. Think in business outcomes. Don't hesitate to ask and understand why. And if you understand that why, possibly you will have more interest in building. You will have more satisfaction in delivering that thing. Second is design for simplicity, which is primarily, very important, because as an architect, you are not expected to give complex solution which increases timeline, increases cost, increases maintainability. You are an architect because everyone wants to help you to make things simplified, and that is the key. And sometimes this a simplification is very important, and it's important in terms of thinking also. So sometimes you a customer business may come up to you, right, that they want some feature which is not 100% doable in Salesforce because of XYZ reason, and it's 80% deliverable. But now to build that 20% extra which business is asking, you may have to build the whole 100% custom. So you can always have that discussion that I can give you this 80% so quickly and it's manageable. Sometimes it's again trade-off at the business side, and business takes that happily, that solution, because one is that out of box. Second is cost is very less, maintenance is not a problem, and they are okay with little workaround at times. So having that simplicity in the thought is important. Next is balancing trade-off, right? So as we have spoken so much about trade-offs, every decision requires a cost. It could be in terms of a people, third-party systems, license cost, or the risks, or cost can be, other cost as well, the legal and compliance issues, credibility issues, and all that. So having those trade-offs is important. Some can be risked, some 100% there is no chance that we can take a risk. So there is no perfect architecture. Architecture or design are balances between all these constraints and trade-offs. And some may say that I can give you X value with little cost, or more cost, or little value with less cost. People say, okay, I have money, you guys, you go ahead and spend and give me more value. So maybe that's the best thing to do. Other customers say, no, 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 I have a very cost constraint. I'm okay with little value, just give me that. So both things work at two different customers. So nothing wrong and nothing right about it. It is a contextual thing what works. So important is again what works for a customer. Again, providing your why, that why you took that decision in X customer place and why you took the other decision in the Y customer place. And that is very much important from the architect thought process perspective. Communicate clearly is very important, because I have seen these examples also very often, that someone comes, design, and then developers read it, build it is something different. And then once they produce, they say, no, it doesn't align. I didn't ask this, I didn't ask that, and they misunderstood this and that happened. So all of it actually has to be cleared out from the stakeholder management perspective. So an architect job is to communicate clearly, ensuring that as business stakeholders, tech stakeholders, even the teams, project managers, everyone is aligned to what is being built, and they all are in agreement and have a good understanding of what is being proposed. So if you just produce a very big document, no one is bothered about it, no one is reading, that won't help. Designing for future is important. So again, scalability, always think that once you're building in whatever form, then if you increase it to for example, if you are doing some text calculation for a region, right? So you have just said if region is this, then do this calculation. Now what if there are more regions coming in? You will put another else if. Instead, why don't you create a region specific class? So every time a region comes, you use another region class and say that I'm using my strategy pattern or some design pattern to ensure that if I'm bringing in a new region, all previous regions don't have any impact, because I have used a design pattern and that even doesn't require a testing. Even some kind of a sanity is good. So these things really matters. Having those, learning about those design patterns is very, very much important. uh, so we have, many design patterns, which I just called about strategy, and many other more patterns we have. So go ahead, learn about those patterns, separation of concerns, learn about that, pattern, which helps you to have the clear thought that where you should build what. Then we have enable teams. We talked about enable teams is kept separately because it is little bit more touchy. It's about ensuring that what you have designed is implementable or implemented and providing the right value to the business. And last but not the least, continuously learn, and it is the most difficult part of the whole thing. Now there's so many things coming up so fast. uh, Keeping up to date is not easy. So that has become another challenge with full-time jobs and all that, right? So having such events, which Virendra has done, I think they are pretty good in terms of bringing community members together, giving them some feed, giving some piece of thought, from others, as well as some tech topics. So you actually have some time spent on the weekend to for your learning. I believe is the best time. Um, you know, the last thing I would say in this slide is every habit, whichever you say that, I would call it why as a central factor. So every habit should be powered by why. You should provide your why you are making, if you are making it simplicity, why you are making it this way. Simplicity needs why, trade-off needs why, communication is translating how you have done and why you have done it this way. Future designs also requires that why you are doing it this way. So anything and everything you do, you have to bring in those whys, in why this, why not, and why now, why this way. So all of it is very important, and if in any design and solution you're able to answer these whys, I think that is perfect. So that's the maximum thing we can achieve as an architect. So that's from my side. I'm done. So I'll stop sharing, Virendra. If there are any questions, I can take up.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you, Navita. Thank you for all the experience you have shared over the session, and I believe that is going to be helpful for all the attendees. And let's go for Q&A if we have some questions coming around. Uh,
Yeah.
Team, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or type your questions over the Q&A chat or chat. Uh, I am not able to see any questions over the chat, but okay, let's ask one question from my side because session was very interesting and we you have covered many questions already. But one questions I have related to habits and in habit itself. Do you have any kind of Excel sheet you manage? Like you mentioned, you are having one ADR, architect decisions. So do we have any similar tools that you have already bookmarked for any sessions for any requirements? Suppose we have requirement to design or make a decision on it. So do you have any kind of checklist? You go through checklist one, checklist two, three before estimate anything or before making a final decision?
So actually speaking, we have a review checklist.
Yes.
Uh, so both are different thing. Estimation is different,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and review checklists are different. And then when we design, we have a checklist. For example, when we build something, I mean that is really an asset what we have in Accenture, but I'm sure you can get it outside. So I will not be able to share that.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, when we say that we want to implement, security in a project, so we have a proper guideline, right? For example, you should go always with the permission set you, because we have this, right? And now projects which were already old projects, they had all the permission laid down in profiles. Now that is no more a best practice, correct? Plus having that principle of least privilege and how you should have it. Experience cloud side specifically, we have a lot of best practices in the form of checklist which we give to projects, that if you are having a experience cloud site, ensure that all of it is there, because there were a lot of challenges with the guest user access, where the lot of customer data was getting out. And I've seen a lot of, not lot, but I think that is a pretty common challenge with experience cloud sites. I've seen some of the news recently where some of the data got leaked from the Salesforce. So I think there are checklists, and those checklists are basically coming out of Salesforce best practices. So any AI tool can help you with creating those checklists, Virendra.
Right. Yeah. So we have more questions coming. Nirbhaya, over to you if you want.
Thanks, Virendra. So, Navita, actually, I would like to understand whenever we are setting up the guidelines, you are discussing about design patterns and others. So, for an example, error logging framework we have already built. How an architect can do a regular check on that particular part? Because usually, when tech lead approve the things, it went live, and during the sonar scan and others, we got to know the errors and all. So, is there any practice that you follow or you suggest like we should follow this particular way in order to make sure that all the code that is being built is following these design patterns and all?
So there are two things. Huh? Uh, First of all, that's the prime confusion many people have about an architect versus tech lead. Okay. So architect, I've seen architects who are not coders at all. So that is a different skill. So architects define standards, best practices, guidelines, patterns, all of it, yes. But adherence is the responsibility of a lead. So architect can do a review and say that, yeah, this works or this don't work, and they can take some kind of ownership. So I'll talk about that, right? So once you have defined those frameworks, so generally what we do is we have some kind of initial templates, initial packages which people can use when they start the project. So it gives a kind of good framework. And one of the open sources FFlib, right, which gives you different um, design patterns in terms of how you should layer your application specifically. When you talk about Sonar Cube, that is a different thing. That is about static code analysis. That is about you're adhering to the coding best practices or not, right? Which you have set for your project. Now, if that is not being adhered or followed, you do not allow them to move to the higher environment, and that you can build in your DevOps lifecycle. You can define that which rules are mandatorily must be covered, and if you have critical or severe issues, you don't even allow that thing to move it to the higher and unless the developer fixes. So you have a control when you do all of it with the DevOps integrated pipeline.
Thank you so much. That's it from
But
my side.
that is for the static code analysis. That is not for the design part of it. That.
Yeah, I'm able to understand your part. It shouldn't be the architect responsibility, but it should be shared across, and the tech lead should do
Yeah,
along
but
with the
but I
architect the
think
heavy.
quick. So what we follow sometimes, we in some critical projects, because once you set up a standard, right, people follow. It's just that they don't follow because when they don't know the standard. If you define that this is the naming convention of my project, most people will follow. Correct. If you don't define, then everyone is free to build in their own way.
Yes, I agree with you. There should be some initial guidelines and then the checks by different authorities, not
Yeah, and
everything
there are
by
tools,
architect.
automation tools, which you can define your own rules and all of it. But having those, layering and all that, that's more of a coaching where you train people and all that, and you do an audit. And for the code review also, we know that there are sometimes static code analysis is one, but we also have manual code reviews and all of it, which is helpful. And nowadays, with all this AI thing, and I believe you can even ask AI to find out if it is following any pattern or not, and that is possible.
Thank you, Ravita. Thank you very much.
Yes, Aditya.
Uh, First of all, thank you, Navita ma'am, so much for guiding all those
Yeah.
learning thing. So if you I mean, I have to go more learn more about design patterns. So, what would be your suggestion? Like how I can follow to know more about these patterns and all?
I think patterns are not mentioned here. So you can actually search on the Apex design patterns on the Google. Otherwise, I will search, or you can ask the Chat GPT, frankly. So there are some patterns I know. It actually got translated from the Gang of Four patterns, which used to be earlier Java patterns. So we had two types of pattern. One was the enterprise patterns, and another was Apex design pattern. Enterprise pattern is when we talk about the separation of concerns. How should I define my layers, like domain layer, service layer, and all that. Then we had this Apex design pattern where we say that how you make your code, for example, the strategy pattern or singleton pattern or factory pattern. So all of these patterns are, I think, gang of four uh, patterns.
Yeah, because like in our organization, basically it was built back then in 2014, 15, and then again the requirement came. We have acquired some other companies, and then again we have merging all those instances into single Salesforce framework, like a single Salesforce org. And now now we are getting a lot of issues, like whether it's limitations issues and all. So one common areas is like we have designed such a complex flow that in order to do a mass update, we need to deactivate it, and again after the update, then again deactivate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that areas, and a lot of things are there. Like in order to handle those issues, again we have to like redesign all those structures, right, ma'am? So
I think design patterns are very much important. Frankly, if you just go and ask, even AI nowadays, you will get all the patterns with examples.
yeah,
Um,
that's true. But as per to uh, our big business requirement, bit like, in order to get to know all those things as per to our business requirement, a bit complex. But I mean, AI might not be.
Yeah, no, I think so in that case, important is first you should know the pattern, Aditya.
Yes,
If
yes,
you don't know the pattern, even if you know the requirement, you will not be able to apply because you don't have understanding of that pattern, correct?
yes,
So it is equivalent to limits. If you don't know that you have this limit exists in Salesforce,
yeah,
this transaction limit or SOQ limit and all that, then you will not be able to think in that terms because you don't know it exists.
yes,
And for your business requirement, I think, yeah, so that will be very client or business requirement specific. So
yes.
generally, I cannot answer that question.
No, I mean, I just wanted to know like how I can follow these patterns, or like any documentations, or like any online resources you would like to suggest so that I can
Yes.
get the ideas.
So there, I think, gang of four
You're,
design patterns. I was searching for.
if you're Aditya, if you're following the current screen, key resources. Uh, these are the links we can refer. This is the link.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
I will also share all these links over the chat.
I have one more link I can give from the Apex hours.
Yeah,
Sure.
So I can add that to, or maybe Vrindra, you can help to add this to.
Just share. And
Yeah,
we can share it later in this same day.
yeah. I can add. I can paste in the chat right now. So
Sure.
this is what is something from Apex hours. You can refer that.
yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. The next question we have from Lakhan. He's asking more about the scalability. How can we?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Aditya.
Sorry.
Thank you, Aditya. So, Navita, we have next question from Lakhan. He's especially asking about the scalability. If we have done today something, how can we maintain in future?
So
I believe you already answered about we need
no,
to.
no, I can. Yeah. So scalability, I think you first understand what the scalability means. Scalability means that if your application today can support, one of the criteria could be if it can support 500 customers, can it support 5 million customers tomorrow?
Yeah, that is huge difference. So system will not increase in a day or in a night. That will be continually we need to observe what is the
So,
frequency of
yeah,
data.
so it's not necessary that you have to plan for 5 million. You should know what is your customer target. So that's one criteria.
Hmm.
Second is you're building something, right? How you make it extensible. I gave you an example of scalability for the text pattern, text calculation perspective, right? So you are building for multiple regions. And then how you ensure that you are not putting everything into a single class or single, a place, and you are following those patterns to make them scalable. For example, if you are saying that I have to build text logic for 4 different countries, I mean, this is one of the example.
Hmm.
Now you just build one class and you have used object oriented principles. You used inheritance and say that, now every time I'm bringing a new country, that my main class is able to select the right child class based on the country selection. Now, if that is the case, you bring in the fifth company and then you add another class, and that's it. You have the whole framework, everything ready. Whenever you are adding a new country, the other things are not getting impacted. So, scalability is in terms of many things, right? Scalability is when your application grows in terms of the number of internal or external users using the application, and it is in terms of when your application gets enriched in terms of more and more features, more and more clouds, and more integration aspects. So
Correct.
it is two terms, right? And I mean, there is not a golden rule or anything which is 4 point checklist which I can give you. It is about the requirement and the way of thinking and how you design about it. One of the example I gave is about case, and that's a real problem I have seen in a couple of projects. I won't say many projects, but people don't think about in the concept of object oriented. So those are, the enterprise things like thinking in terms of an object class, object oriented principles. But now we start directly on the coding without even understanding what they are.
Got it. So if we summarize, we need to be taking care of in many ways, like number of data or the volume of the system, the integration we have. This is something we need to be continue review, because those things are not going to be changed in a day or night. So in that way, we will be reviewing the system. I hope, Lakan, that answered your question. So do we have any questions? Yep. Yeah, good. Okay. So you're done with the Q&A. I'm
Okay.
not able to see any more questions. Let's quickly go what we have for the next. So after the Q&A, this is the form that for the session 5, and please continue submit your questions there if you have any questions like you have raised today. Okay? Similar kind of thing you need to do by this form. Just open this Google form. Let me walk you through how it is going to work. Okay. So once you open this form, forget about what kind of complexity questions you have. Just choose the role, whatever role you have, or what type of questions you have. um, Type of questions, you can see there is no limit. Whatever you are thinking in your mind, just mention or select. Or if you are not able to see those type of questions here, just put it in other. Okay. If it is related to integration, belongs to different ecosystem, just mention as well if you have faced any challenges or if you are facing any. Describe briefly, so we will be able to understand what exactly the question is, and in the description also mention the um, challenge you are facing there. This is something you need to follow. It will not take too much time to submit your questions. So this is how you need to follow for the session 5, and right after that we are good. So thank you once again for all the attendees, and special thanks to Navita,
Thank you.
who introduced all the things and share the experience for this specific session, architect decision making.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
everyone for joining. Thanks, Virendra. Bye.
Thank you everyone. Bye.